These following principles, I'm going to cover mindset, I'm going to cover leadership, I'm going to cover marketing, sales, product delivery, finance, and I'm going to talk about, team and recruiting and things like that. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name's Max, CEO of Smith & Sons here in Canada. Today I'm going to chat real quick about some keys to support business development, but I'm also going to backtrack a little bit and make reference to some of these in the startup light. So I'm pretty keen to chat to 23-year-old carpenters or tradies or whatever that are considering going, you know what? I'm working for this guy and I think I can do a better job. So, the reason I say that is because I was one of those guys thinking I'm pretty sure I can get this sorted a bit better than the guy that I'm working for. Before I get started, be sure if you want to email me, you can send an email to max@businessforbuilders.ca. You could shoot me a text message to 250-241-8866. Be sure to like and subscribe and certainly share this information with anyone that you think that might benefit from it. We're always wanting to deliver some value and really dish up some steak and potatoes for you to take away and implement in your business straight off the bat. So like I said, we're going to talk about some keys that you can use to support even if you're... So basically, if you're in a startup, you can use these. If you're a guy you're a bit of a veteran or a gal that's been around the industry for a while, then you actually can use these to maybe reinvigorate your business and potentially create some efficiencies and some competencies within the business, fill some gaps perhaps. Maybe there's some items that are not on your list currently that should be. Maybe there's some things that you're doing that you're out there doing at the moment that you can probably do a little better. We hope to, at some level, help you improve your business over a period of weeks and months and years, because we're all playing the long game. This is not a sprint. This is certainly a marathon. So these following principles, I'm going to cover mindset, I'm going to cover leadership, I'm going to cover marketing, sales, product delivery, finance, and I'm going to talk about team and recruiting and things like that. So that's basically the overview. So let's get started by talking about mindset. I think when I left school, that was the best day of my life. I left in grade 11 because I'm like, I've had a gut full of this shit. I have got no interest in coming to this building. I'm not learning anything. I'm probably fighting more than I'm learning. And so it was a great day for me. What I thought at that moment was that, great, now that I'm not at school, I guess I might have naively thought that my learning side of things academically was over. And that's why when I got the opportunity to go to a technical college and then I got an offer for an apprenticeship, I grabbed that with both hands because I thought, brilliant, I'm doing something that's not actually reliant on me sitting in a classroom. So I was pretty pumped about that. What I didn't understand was at that stage, I just needed to embrace the fact that I was now going to become a student of some sort of curriculum. It just wasn't going to be like it was at school. And so I think, part of the mindset is got to be, you've got to embrace the learning curve. And me, who wasn't an excellent student academically, unfortunately, what I thought is if I did something well, like be a practitioner, be a carpenter, that was going to solve the world's problems, because I automatically thought if I be a carpenter, I can learn how to do that. I'm on the tools and I'll make money. Unfortunately, being a practitioner and executing as a ninja business owner they don't go part and parcel. Unfortunately, what I experienced and what I've seen and really what I continue to sell to today is that just because you're a good practitioner, it doesn't mean that you're automatically a good business owner and going to create a massive business that creates a great profit. And so me being a good student was super important. Even as today, even as a CEO, every day I'm having to embrace the learning curve, and there's just so much to learn. I mean, we're trying to get to 40,000 feet, and every day, I've got so many stakeholders that are, demanding certain things of me. I've got to always be systemizing, always be improving. It's just a constant, never-ending process. So, you really have to give your head a shake. You've got to make sure that you've got your head on straight. You've got to make sure that you embrace the challenges or be prepared to embrace the challenges. I think there is going to be more things that frustrate you in the coming weeks and months and years if you want to develop a big business. If you want to just stay on the tools and, let's say, be a framer. My background's carpentry. I did an apprenticeship in that field. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. What I soon realised was that it was a young man's game. You only want to spend so many years climbing up ladders, walking around top plates, putting up trusses and that sort of thing. That really has got an expiry date on it. So I realised that I had to do something differently. And you might be in that situation, but if you are on the other side of it and you're just getting cracking and you're just starting to sort of make some good coin as a subcontract carpenter, then good for you. But potentially, depending on your nature, if you're entrepreneurial or if you're not, that'll depend on whether or not you're hungry to go after business. I know plenty of guys that just love to stay in the groove and just do frame after frame after frame after frame. And I can actually identify with that because I enjoy framing. I love building. There's nothing better than, pulling out of a job site, looking in your mirror, and you know that you built that. Obviously I'm here in British Columbia now, here in Canada, but often when I used to go back to Australia prior to some of these travel restrictions being, put on us because of what's going on in the world today, I used to love driving up and down some of the streets where I literally started my apprenticeship. There's places in and around South Brisbane or the southern side of Brisbane where there's townhouses and there's plenty of homes and stuff that I know that I put that frame together. So there is that little sort of romantic part of what it is that we do. But I think when it boils down to it, we've got to be fairly pragmatic about, what it is that we need to do, because we do start to progress and we get out of that moment. So mindset's super important. You need to make sure you got your head in the right space. Second thing there is leadership. This is a biggie because I think, there's an element of, there's a personal challenge, and leadership is so macro. Leadership can be broken down in so many compartments. But I think the personal challenge is to be disciplined. This is where we all love the autonomy. We don't we don't like being told what to do. We want to make sure that, we do what we want to do. You're not going to tell me what to do. You're not my boss, all of that sort of jazz. But I think at some point, I think that, there is a point where you're going to need to look to a mentor of some description, because accountability is a big part of this business. To give you an example, for me, I'm in another country. I've got 3 business partners back in Australia, and I go out of my way to talk to the other operational business partner on a daily, if not every other day. It probably isn't overcooked, but the accountability part, it makes me feel so good. The pats on the back that you get makes me feel so good. The feeling that I can try something and fail and get some encouragement, that makes me feel good. A mentor is such a big part of your leadership development process. You really don't want to undervalue the importance of developing as a leader and understanding how that process takes place. So, we in this business, in what I do, I walk a mile, see a mile. I can't possibly predict what's going to happen this year with any accuracy at all. What I can do is every day I get up with an open mind. I'm hungry to learn. I want to provide solutions to everybody that I associate with, whether it's staff, whether it's franchised operators, our general contractors, whether it's their clients, whether it's prospective clients, whether it's suppliers that we try and do deals with. Like, everyone wants a piece of me, and my job is to create solutions. And so, that part of the development process for me is it's part and parcel. It just goes with the territory. If you're not busy living, you're busy dying. And so you've got to keep on moving. Just to that point, in our boardroom, which is right next door to the studio here, it's where I do training with all of our general contractors. And, I just put out there, and I've left there, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30% of the books that I've ever read. And, it goes across a 4-foot table. And, it's just a bit of an indication as to all of the stuff. Leaders are readers. Now, some of you, I'm not an academic. I started out by telling you all that. But I discipline myself to read 15 minutes a day, because the more I develop this business, the more I have to, the more I do types of these podcasts, man, I got to have my head on straight. I can't be sitting in front of you and wasting your time and effectively wasting my time. I've got to bring to the table something of value. Now, I've got to do that, like I said, with staff. They don't want to be led by a meathead. They want to be led by competent, efficient, organized, folks. They don't want to be led by a knucklehead. So please don't be a knucklehead. If you are a knucklehead, read more. Get a mentor, because I'm telling you, it's not their fault. It's more often than not, I spend the vast majority of my time looking in the mirror going, what do you need to do better? Where do you need to be sharper? What is it that you need to improve on? What do you need to change? Because really, that's when the speed of the pack is determined by the speed of the leader. That means it's quite an easy thing to identify what needs to change. The hard part is to be disciplined and go in there and go, right, I need to find mentors. I need to find some books that I need to read. I need to improve my leadership skills, or my sales skills, or my financial understanding skills, or pretty much all the above, to make sure that you're staying on the cutting edge. So that's all I'd have to say about leadership. I'm really just trying to button this up. I don't want this to be a 3-hour podcast, but there's some really good parts within this podcast to really help you develop your business. Whether you are a new guy thinking about it in your mid-20s, or you're an older guy who's been around the game and not happy with the outcome. Okay, so marketing is the next thing I'll quickly chat about. Really, marketing, if they don't know you or they can't see you, then you can't get them to inquire. So that's we all understand that. So if they don't know about you, then how can they engage you? I think what you've got to understand too is you don't want to be just another tree in the forest. You want to stand out. Doesn't mean you've got to go and do backflips and all that sort of crazy stuff to get their attention, but there is parts of your business within your marketing that you can do differently that maybe resonate with our preferred client profile a lot better. And that just brings me to something else. You need to make sure you've nailed down your niche and your preferred client profile or your client avatar, because if you don't know what you're selling and who you're selling to, how can you develop your marketing and your marketing message? So that's a pretty basic. I think for the most part, most people would understand that, and that's a very simplistic. However, if you really want to know the intricacies of that, you've got to start, doing some deep diving around, understanding yourself first. So that's why, a variable of success is self-awareness. You've got to, really understand where your weaknesses are, but then, you've got to be self-aware that what are you projecting as a business? Actually, matter of fact, I did a sales call with a guy yesterday, and I chatted with this fella about the Smith & Sons general contracting opportunity, the franchised opportunity, and we were in the boardroom, and we had our laptop connected to the big screen. And as I'm talking to this guy, we got his website up on the screen there, and I was able to talk to him about his website. And it's very traditional, and it's fairly typical as well. The amount of guys on Instagram, I've talked about this before, that do say, we do quality work and give great service. Like, there you go, being another tree in the damn forest. And you wonder why that you then end up competing on price, because what you've got to offer, your marketing message, and the thing that creates a difference between you and the other guys is non-existent. So guess what? You've got to go back to grinding your profit margins to win a job. But the thing is, when I was chatting to this guy yesterday, it was almost like he's unconsciously incompetent. He doesn't understand. He is trying his best. He's doing something at least. Unfortunately, the client is going to look at that website and go, okay, next, another, because there's nothing there that's jumping out. There's nothing that's engaging them. There's nothing that says to them, these guys do it differently. So to be able to bring a comparison, I talked about his website and I said, where are your testimonials? And furthermore, where are your video testimonials? Now, if you were to have a client look at your website and then look at our smithandsons.ca website, it's a no-brainer. They are going to discard or disregard that operator, and they're going to go where there's somewhere where they can where there's a transfer of trust happening from one past client to another prospective client. All of a sudden they're going, hey, these guys sound like they've got 5 stars because I've listened to all their video testimonials. You go across to even Google reviews. We work hard to maintain 5 stars, but it does you've got to be diligent. So, if you want to start by separating yourself, you need to understand that the value is not in, I just did a beaut kitchen. What the value in is you deliver a beautiful kitchen, but the client raves about you. You want to turn them into a raving fan. So I think the marketing is really is a reflection of the experience that the client has, because really everything after that, it's really easy to produce a marketing message when you know your delivery is on point. Now, if you think you're doing a grand job, but you haven't got the ability to go and ask customers for testimonials, then potentially either something's broken, or you just haven't got the chops, or don't understand the way that you go about connecting or talking with a client to be able to get them into a position where, and then of course you've got to go and get the video cameras, and that's another challenge, and I get that, but it's not an excuse to not do it. Figure it out. That's what you might have to do. I say a lot of our guys, they're trained this way. It's like you are your object, and this is what I recommend. I've done this. I've said this to a retail client. My goal is to make you my goal is to make you a raving fan, because at the end of this project, when I've delivered the project, I'd love to ask you for a video testimonial just to share a little bit about your experience and how it was dealing with Smith & Sons. You can do that, but you've got to make sure the whole process is set up. You can't just have that wild idea in your next meeting tomorrow, go and ask a client that when you know full well you don't know you don't know what questions you're going to ask them. You don't know how you're going to get the video. You don't know how you're going to set the setup. Like, there's a whole bunch of unknowns. You need to map out. And this is why running a business by default is dangerous. Running your marketing campaigns by default is dangerous. Running it by the stereotypical methodology behind marketing in the construction business today, which is pretty thin at best, is dangerous. You need to be in a position where your commitment to your business is followed quickly by the creative. So when I have a commitment to developing a business, immediately I go straight to creative, because I'm like, right, that's my commitment, is to grow and develop a business and a brand in my area. What is the creative that's going to be needed to support that developmental process? So that's marketing. Have a quick think about that. And look, I'd urge you, if you've got any questions relating to anything, feel free to email me, and we'll just chat about it online. And, you might have questions that are relating to Max, why, and I'm going to need to know. So I'm going to counterpunch. If you're going to email me or you're going to text me, make sure you've got a specific question. Don't be random. Don't be sort of vague. Be specific. Multiple topics if that's what it needs. And I'll be sure to document that in return with an email. So the best way you can get me is at max@businessforbuilders.ca. And I would love to just, do an initial synopsis on what your business is at, and, any of the questions you might have. Absolutely no obligation. Happy to help, and we'll get back to you as promptly as I can. So anything to do with what we've just talked about or what I'm about to continue on chatting about, let me know. Okay, so the next part of this is we're going to chat about sales. I think you can, sales is not difficult if you know how. What that means is your sales process or your sales component of your business or department, it needs to be systemized. And that systemized approach needs to be documented, because if you can't bring somebody into that business, let's say down the track, to be able to do sales, because you've not got a system and you've not documented it, then what you're going to do is your business will run out of headroom. It's just not going to be able to grow, and it's all going to be reliant on you. Because I know that I love to do sales, but if I was going to replace myself as a salesperson, then everything I need to have a systemized approach, and it needs to be documented in the event that I want to bring on another team member to maybe help me with doing that, or to take on that department altogether. Similar to marketing, sales must be empathetic, and it must be value orientated. You cannot just go and tell them how good you are, because it really means nothing to them. There's this radio station they listen to. It's WIIFM, and that radio station is what's in it for me. That's all they're interested in. They don't give a rat's about how good you build houses until such time as they get to know you. So this really, I guess, between the sales component and the marketing, people do business. You do business with people that you know, like, and trust. And your retail clients have got such a wall of distrust that's up, that you've got to deconstruct that wall of distrust. Now, that's going to take many hours of, let's say, watching you on social media, some of your marketing, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. And then it's going to take maybe between 8 and 12 points of contact for you to be able to get to a point where you can ask the business, because at that point they've got to know you. They actually start to like you, and there's an element of trust that's starting to build. And I'm telling you, I tell my guys, I said, if you haven't got 8 points of contact lined up there and you haven't spent a couple of hours building relationship, you don't dare ask for the business, because I'm telling you, you're going to blow the thing sideways. It's got to be built on a solid foundation. I think on one of the last podcasts we talked about foundations and the, the parts, the important parts of building a good foundation. So, value orientated, there's got to be, for example, what we do at Smith & Sons, we're selling peace of mind, security and satisfaction. And how we do that is we give them fixed price building contracts, specifications and inclusions, and we give them either a project duration, or if we can go to contract, then we're going to give them a completion date. And that means they know what they're getting, they know what they're paying, and they know how long it's going to cost and when we're going to be out of their life. So, there's some value around that. And certainly prior to, going in that far, there's certain things that we try. We've got a few promotions running at the moment to try and give some value. But certainly in the relationship is where most of the value is displayed, demonstrated, and delivered. And that's super important. You've got to understand that the sales process in construction, it's very relational. And that's, it is. And you need to be good at building relationships and maintaining relationships with clients, because the sales process is so long. It's a very lengthy process. It's much like when I sell a franchise. It can take me 60 days to 9 months to actually close some of these deals, because there's such an emotional upheaval within the decision-making process that it just takes them a long time to be able to understand what's going on, and for me to help them remove the reluctance to commit. You'll do that with retail sales as well. I think that the length of it shows your commitment. In other words, one of our core values is that we are deliberate, we're not desperate. So I'm never trying to get any of my clients or my general contractors that I might be selling franchises to in a headlock to make them do anything for my reasons. I find out what's important to them, make it important to me, and I always trying to advance the deal. I'm never going to get, in a position where I'm just kind of continuing the communication or the chat. I honestly, as either a retail builder in sales, I always want to advance the deal. And certainly when I'm talking, to you or to anybody else in the general contractor world about a franchise purchase within Smith & Sons, I'm always wanting to advance the deal. However, I'm very empathetic, and I'm very patient, and I understand that it's all about relationship building and that it is a lengthy process. And so, I can only do so much, and then I've got to accept that the human that I'm talking to is really putting this together as quickly as they can and trying to reach a decision one way or the other. And so we have to be patient. There's no rushing in retail sales. It's just it's too hit and miss. And I think we need to be a little bit more scientific than that. And so, look, in a nutshell, systemize, document, be empathetic, be value-orientated, understand that it's very relational, and that the sales process is a very lengthy one. I'm telling you, but it's only really your initial start. Your first, 2 to 6 months, same as if you're selling real estate. You're not going to get your first commission check for 3 months, 4 months. Really what you've got to do is be patient, be persistent, be consistent, be methodical, have a systemized approach to it. And what you'll find is once you get a bit of altitude, it's almost like you've cracked the code. Now it's just a wash, rinse, and repeat, but always be improving, always be developing. And slowly but surely you'll find yourself every 12 months, you'll be able to look back on some of your finances and really see that, okay, my fixed expenses have grown, but my profit margin is there in place, and I'm starting to really understand the power of a good approach to sales. So once we've made the sale, the next thing is product delivery. So far we've talked about mindset, leadership, marketing, sales, product delivery. We're just really talking about competent construction methods and processes. I'm not going to, if you've been in the building game for any amount of time, you've kind of seen enough. You should know what you're doing. But understand this, that, you've really got to develop good relationships with suppliers, subcontractors, because I remember and I've shared this story before, where I was, just a subcontract carpenter, and I pride myself on doing a really good job. And I would tell the superintendent that I was working for, I said, mate, I make you look good, which was extremely arrogant and extremely cocky. But a story that I can now use to tell everyone, and I don't think anyone got hurt in the making of that story. But unfortunately, it was an indictment against my personality. Really, it was a naivete. That builder was actually my client, and I didn't see it for that. And so, but I think the underlying truth is that the better your suppliers, like when we talk to clients, we talk about, quality suppliers and a good network of subcontractors. And it's super important that you can have, or you could have done everything right so far. You could be in the right mental state. You're a good leader. Your marketing message is on point. Your sales process is good. But if you fall down in the construction process, all of a sudden, all of that good work is being undone by incompetent construction methods. And so you've got to make sure that, and because you're very reliant on your suppliers to be able to deliver on time, and your subcontractors to be able to, execute in good time, then those two things are, they're two avenues or two resources that you really need to make sure that we talk about starting well and finishing strong. Well, you need those entities to be on board and to believe in what you do as a building company. I was just on the phone this morning chatting with one of our reps out of Home Hardware, and we we're just chatting about, the little history that we have, in this area. And, it's really important to me to have good relationships. I'm responsible for talking to national suppliers about, supplier agreements and based on our buying power. And, those guys are guys, even though that I'm their client, I actually give them, more respect than perhaps what they're due. But I just know that it may not be that guy, but he's got to go to upper level management, and he's got to make, he's got to vouch for us as a company. So you really do have to be, it's almost political in itself as far as building relationships, because we all want priority. We want to, stuff delivered when we say it is. If we ring up last minute because there was an oversight, of course we want them to, to jump to it and help us, get sorted. And we do the same with our trades, with our subcontractors. And so you really do want to be treated like a VIP builder. And so what that takes is for you to then reciprocate that type of mentality instead of walking around like you should do it for me because I'm your client. I think we need to lose that mentality. And I think we're scratching each other's back right now, and we needed to operate as such. Throughout the product delivery process, the construction phase, competent, concise, clear communication with clients is ridiculously important. They need to know what's going on, not in super great detail, but regular. So maybe on Friday lunchtimes or Friday afternoon, if you're a superintendent for a building company, that would be my afternoon. I know there's a window of opportunity between 1 and 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon where I'm not copping any fire from anyone else. And it's like, right, I've got 6 jobs I'm supervising. Let me just talk to each of the clients to quickly give them a quick debrief of what's happening, let them know about any issues that we might have faced, and let them know about the solutions and what some of the forecast work for the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next month might be, especially if you're drawing closer to completion. Attention needs to be paid to the detail to ensure that you are making sure that you're going to bring this job to a close acceptable to you, the builder, and also to the client, and in both of those regards. So you really have to be meticulous, and you have to be extremely organized. And I think consistent communication, clear communication, competent communication. Just a word of caution. I talk to my guys, when you're getting on an email, please, these clients are busy as most of them, don't, get rid of the bloat. I talk to all of our departments about removing the bloat, and the bloat is the bullshit. Basically, they don't give a rat's about a whole bunch of stuff that you're writing in emails right now. Just keep it professional. Firmness with courtesy. That's kind of where we're at. Keep it professional. Deal with the facts. Get used to bullet points, perhaps. Don't be rude. Don't be obnoxious. Don't be arrogant in that respect. So a lot of the time, I've talked to some of my team about, look, your message wasn't bad, but your delivery was a little questionable. So always think about your delivery, because your message is probably not bad. It's just the way you delivered the message. So if you've been, these aren't your buddies, just so you know, just to clear that up. Clients are not your buddies. These are clients, and they expect you to be a professional builder. So you need to treat them as such. Firmness with courtesy, keep it professional, remove the bloat. That's a great little heads up for any communications, whether it's text message, whether it's email, and whether it's even on the phone. Don't waffle. Listen to them. You've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use it that way. Cut to the chase. Talk about what's important to the client, and then get off the phone. You're busy. They're busy. Let's just keep it business, and we'll be good. Save the beer for after you've done a successful handoff or handover. Okay, finance is a biggie. And I think it's probably one of the keys why, 80% of businesses fail after 5 years or, before 5 years. It's incredible the stress that it creates on our general contractors, because they get caught up doing the construction side of it, but they they really do underestimate how important it is to keep one eye or both eyes on those financial metrics and, what's happening. Okay, so what we've got to do is to really support the financial success of your business, we've got to, and this is where marketing kicks in. I want to talk about the ties between your marketing and your profit. But we need to give you full top of funnel. That's the priority. And that's because it generates cash flow. Now, it hasn't generated profit, but without good marketing, without, who said it? I think Grant Cardone says, sales cures all. And to a certain extent, that's true. It's a good start. You just got to want to make sure that there's some intricate details within the sales process, and some of the numbers that we're going to talk about now are all catered for. So as a macro, we got to make sure your top of funnel is full. You need that for a bunch of reasons, because volume is better, or is certainly encouraging, but you need to be able to have choices. You don't want to just get 3 inquiries this month and then all of a sudden you have to work for all of them and they just happen to be all knuckleheads. I think this month we had 110 inquiries for work in the month of January 2022, and a forecast bill value. I look at every single one of those inquiries and I say, that's a kitchen, 50 grand, bathroom, 20 grand, addition, 125. And so we calculate, we keep an eye on those numbers. And I think we're at about $13.5 million worth of inquiry forecast build value. And so what that does is it gives a lot of choice to all of our general contractors to enable them to make sure that they disqualify the wood ducks, price checkers, time wasters, tie kickers. And if you want a definition on any of those terms, you just email me and I'll let you know. Wood ducks is one that the Canadians don't get a hold of. I don't know why. Email me if you know what a wood duck is. But anywho, we've got to make sure that we've got plenty of choice so that we can really, okay, we look at our client avatar. Okay, they don't fit our preferred client profile. That's not someone that I want to work for because I don't like their attitude. Those sorts of things. I had one of our guys who failed to get back in touch with the client about a quote. And he said, all right, Max, well, I'll quickly put together an estimate. I said, hang on a minute. You don't actually need to do that. What you can do is hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, it was great meeting you the other week. And I don't advise to leave this 2 weeks like happened in this situation. But you can make a comment and say, you can make an email and put it together and say, hey, I enjoyed meeting you and discussing your projects. After sort of checking out, in more detail your project, we've just, unfortunately, we're not in a position to be able to provide a bid for your project. All the best with your project. Kind regards. You don't have to give everybody a quote, but you can't not communicate them and tie that end up. So that's a little bit of a digression. That's probably more in sales. So back up 2 points. But you do need to have, good top of funnel. That's the priority, gives you good cash flow. But revenue is vanity, but profit is sanity. And so don't be confused with good top of funnel numbers or contract numbers. And that means, my business must be profitable. It doesn't mean that at all. So to that point, you need to know the numbers of your business. That relates to things like fixed expenses. Obviously, you need to know what materials you're being charged for, or what you're being, what numbers are within your material supply. You need to know what your labor charges are coming from your subcontractors. If you've got any guys or girls working for you full time, you need to understand. You probably need to create work orders to make sure you can allocate certain hours of their contribution to that project to the different projects. Knowing your numbers across the board is an absolute must. The next thing I've got here is calculate. Now, this just follows on with know your numbers. Calculate the most of profit, margin, and markup. I might do a bit of a training video on markup and margin. That would be something that, I'm amazed how many guys will basically blend their markup percentage and say that's their profit margin percentage, when guys and gals, it is completely not. You only have to Google markup versus margin and you'll certainly have your eyes open to what the situation is, but it is a bit of a tough one to understand. And so, but really the way we calculate profit margin percentage off the back of our markup percentage, it really comes down to what do we need to, what does that need to provide to our business to enable us to run the business and develop and grow the business as well. So this is where I'd say profit is connected to marketing. If you've only got 3 leads a month coming in, you're really going to have to gut your margins because you really need those jobs, which means you've got to compete on price. And that is a horse shit business development method. No, we won't use that for the episode title, although it probably would be pretty cool. But yeah, please, you really, your marketing is absolutely tied to your profit. The relationship there is fairly unreal. I would say that profit is connected to your marketing. Profit is a natural byproduct of good estimating. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times before. I think the better you know your numbers, the more you understand what your business needs, your materials and your labor costs, the more detailed you are in your estimates. And I think I talked about this one other time too, whereas when I estimate a project, I build it in my mind. As a carpenter by trade and a qualified builder, that is essentially, I can build it in my brain. I'm sure most of you guys and girls who've got some degree of experience will go, okay, that makes sense to me. But so if you get your estimating good and you know your numbers, profit should be a natural byproduct. That is a given. Cutting profit is a surefire way to stunt your business growth for all the reasons I just outlined. I think if you want to develop your business, then you have to sell better. That's really what it comes down to. I've said that before, and the reason is because if you're able to demonstrate more value, then clients are going to be more inclined because they might know you, trust you, like you, love the peace of mind that comes with working from you. There's a transfer of trust between past clients that are maybe on your website talking about their experience, and there's that transfer of trust to prospective clients. And when they're deliberating as to which general contractor they're going to call, you would hopefully stand head and shoulders above the rest, and that's definitely super important, as it relates to developing a business. Point number 7 is you can't do it all yourself. We're going to talk about team. I think that's fairly cliched, but I think as builders, we sometimes don't appreciate or understand. We come from that tradition that says if it's going to be done right, you've got to do it yourself. And great, wear that on your chest and pat yourself on the back. But I'm telling you, if you're into business development or you're in a startup, you need to understand that from the get-go, that you cannot wear all the hats. And then if you've been around this thing for, 10 or 15 years, I'm sure you understand that. I know a lot of guys that have said, you know what, I'm actually not interested in building a business anymore because I know how many hats I've got to wear if I do it at a certain level, and I'm not interested. That takes too much away from their lifestyle. Now, if they entertained this section, team, then they might have the opportunity to actually enjoy a better business and enjoy a better lifestyle, because the business delivers to the shareholder, the owner of the business, what we want it to. But they're just like, I don't want to do it. I've had builders tell me I hate people. Now, there is days where I would concur. It is a challenge. Humans are the greatest sacrifice, but if you get it right in some cases, the humans that you get to know in your life can be some of the most precious moments. And I think it's that balance. And I think I might have made reference to, it's like having kids. Sometimes you just absolutely want to throttle them, but then there is definitely a part of it where it gives you a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction to be a parent. So you can't do it all in yourself. In a nutshell, when you're basically building a team, you've got to understand the recruitment process, the reward to the folks that you bring on board, and also your ability to retain. There's no point in going into recruitment if they're going out the back door because they're not happy. You've got to be a good leader in this regard. It's not just about being a good talent scout, although it's something that I absolutely subscribe to, because there's cultural development within the business is super important. It sets the tone. It sets a benchmark. Everybody knows what that is, and in some cases it ejects the wrong type of individual out of the business, which is super important because you want to make sure your cultural standard is upheld. So you want to make sure that you recruit well and reward. There's got to be something in it financially. These people don't come and work for you because they think you're a great guy. They're here for the money. Now, they come for the money initially, but they will stay because of the culture. And so it's important, I think, that we appreciate that. And again, if you're playing the short game, this kind of methodology will not ring true with you. You'd be like, I haven't got time for that. But I'm telling you, if you want to develop and then sustain by retaining employees, you're going to have to give up first. You have got to be the one that sacrificed first, because what happens eventually, if you're playing the long game, it will pay dividends to you, but not this month. It's going to take a little while for you to reap that benefit. So recruitment is important. Be a good talent scout. Reward those that you bring onto your team, and avoid losing people. Try and retain the good people, as best you can. In a perfect world, we would be successful across the board at that, but we're not. Look, I think in the event that you lose someone good, for me, I totally accept that I could have good people that lead my business. But you know what? it really, when it comes down to happiness, if they're not happy staying, then they got to go anyway. So I'm with them. What can I do to help? I want to retain first and foremost, but if someone chooses to leave, then I just, it needs to be on good terms. We can't have the bad blood. And if I've done my part in helping them further their career, they probably won't forget me or you. And I think that's really is a good thing for you as a business owner as well. Look, I think an interesting note there is to lead yourself and the team will follow. I talk about the speed of the leader being this, setting the speed for the pack. The speed of the leader determines the speed of the pack. So if you're leading yourself and you're developing and you're learning, what you're going to do is develop a culture around self-development and in improvement. You constantly move the bar up on yourself. What you're doing is you're pulling your team with you. If you're passionate about what you do and you enjoy the process, it's highly likely that you're going to attract people who subscribe to that kind of methodology, who that type of operation resonates with them, and it certainly enables or allows them some room to really get excited about the mandate of your business and some of the solutions that you provide your client. I think you need to design a developmental process, for the departments within your business, and then you need to design a developmental process for staff within those departments. It's super important that, we don't ever want to stagnate. We always want to be growing. If you're not busy growing, you're busy dying. And that goes for the people that are in your team. There always needs to be something that they can look forward to. We had a bit of a goal setting chat on Monday in our team meeting, and we talked about, our daily tasks, our weekly goals, and our quarterly and monthly objectives and our yearly targets. And that breakdown that I just spat out then, that's a way that I run my life, both, mostly in business. It's a way that I recommend it to my staff to run their departments. And that enables them to get job satisfaction because now they've got something tangible that they've had to stop and think about. And they're like, right, what am I contributing to this business and what am I contributing to the lives of the people within the business? So there's this culture where we the rising tide is lifting everybody, because if you don't lift, you're going to drown. So it really does promote growth internally. And then that culture permeates the whole business and the brand and our marketing messages, and our sales processes and everything. So it really does. It is a far-reaching thing. So look, I think in summary, we talked about all aspects. Really what we're talking about when I covered all that is a business in a box. Obviously a lot of our guys that come into the business have recognized that as general contractors who have been, out there wearing all the hats, doing everything themselves, and joining forces with Smith & Sons. What that did is that gave them a leveraging capability. So it wasn't like, well, what do I get? And of course they always come for what do I get? And I totally expect that and appreciate that. But I think ultimately what can happen is that, the leverage is what gives you the ability to develop a business far beyond your reach. And so if you want to build a business that's greater than what you are, then you really need to understand that joining forces with a coach or a consultant or with a franchise group, it may give you the ability to build a larger business. So the sum total of the business relationship that is between a coach and a consultant and a general contractor or a franchise group like Smith & Sons is that the sum total of what you achieve is so much greater than what you would actually achieve on your own, doing it by yourself. Because the amount of time just kick the shit out of the table. The amount of time that we spend going around the mountain, like this year, I sent out an email. You might have got this email. I said, you got to think about doing business a different way this year. You can't just think that this year will be different because some magical reason. It's BS. It's not how it's going to be. Remember, you either build a business by default or you build it by design. And what we're talking about here is some really important parts of the business whereby we're going to go into design process. And so, a couple of stories I'll close with. One of our biggest hitters in the business, he was tapping out at $500,000, and 2 years later, after joining forces with Smithies, he was up around the $2 million mark. So, he's got 3 or 4 staff on, he's got trucks on the road, he's got an office now. His profit margins are super healthy. They're in excess of 38% on some of the newer stuff that he's doing, and they're as high as 43%. So, he sat with me way back in the beginning, and you could just tell that he was fatigued and he was almost burned out. And it was just the shift of some of that load particularly the marketing and the systems around sales and things like that. You could just tell that there was a breath of fresh air. He's like, great. Because you know what he went and did? He devoted more of his time to sales, more time to construction, more time to recruitment. Obviously, the increased profit margins were helping his business development process. And it really did change the way that not only he thought about business, but he really embraced the team. And, I just love working with the guy. And then there's another guy who we got on board December 2019, and he was doing 100, 150 grand and just always was hitting the ceiling, just couldn't get the thing out of first gear. And within 12 months, I think his business did over 500,000. And I mean, we're just talking small renos. And to develop his business to 5x his business for that individual is a credit, I think, to him as an individual, because he knew that he had the potential, but there was just something lacking. And I'm just privileged to be able to work with that guy and his wife over the last 12 months to see the leveraging capability and the synergy between someone like, or an entity like Smith & Sons and that team and their business operation. So, look, great having you with me. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, you can reach out to me on all levels. Don't be afraid. Ask me some questions. But I really hope that 45 minutes was time well spent. And would encourage you to maybe re-listen to this, because this, we covered a bunch of information that is really going to either lay a great foundation for you to start up a business if you're, in your 20s and you're wanting to get on with it, or if you're a 45-year-old and you're really going, wow, I've been around this now for 15 years and I don't feel like I'm kicking goals. Why is my business not, giving to me what I want? So I want you to succeed, go build a kick-ass business, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next episode. Cheers.